Welcome to the Fullcaster Podcast, episode 12. Our guest today is a special one for us, none other than one of the guys behind the scenes here at CalSpeed, the Bob Niles. Bob's been a part of the game here since the very, very beginning at CalSpeed. He's actually the engine guy here, but even more than that, lead mechanic and kind of the doer of all things all over the entire facility. So not only has he done that, but he is got a slew of years of experience and stuff like that, doing all kinds of crap, and I'm really excited to chat with him. He's not originally from this area, so it's gonna be kind of fun to hear about karting elsewhere. And speaking of elsewhere, jumping into the current events here, Dirk. We got a little bit of a vacation this weekend. It's actually, we're recording this Thursday,
on the 2nd
of July. So we got the 4th of July coming up here in a couple of days, and we're actually heading up to Big Bear.
That'll be fun.
We're hanging up there with the wives.
Change of pace for us.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it, and usually I'm going someplace to race, right? If I'm going to travel, I'm racing. That's what I'm doing,
right?
And I'm trying. When was the last time that I went someplace and I wasn't bringing the helmet? You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to go to a racetrack or something. So that's going to be a bit different. And I want to say probably when I went and visited my parents. And we went to Bend, kind of similar.
We did Big Bear last year for the night.
Right. Yeah, we did.
But that was that was after an LEKC.
Oh.
So we still did have a helmet on that weekend. But yeah, it's nice to go somewhere and be away from the industry for a second.
Yeah, sometimes I don't even know what the hell to do.
Yeah,
I have a hard time not racing, and not doing stuff.
I think we just have to accept that we don't do anything.
Yeah, luckily, Becky, my wife, and your girlfriend, Heather, they're kind of taking the lead on the planning department there. And actually, shout out to a buddy of ours, Jose De Silva, who's actually dialing things in on that program. But, going to be weird to even after we just had all this, quote, time off.
Right.
We've been, full tilt the last several weeks, just getting things rolling again. And or a couple weeks, I guess it is, and
we just finished our third week, so this will be a month back for us at the end of this one.
And squeezed a couple of events in there. Did the Super Series Ironman and then the oval race. And the oval race was a blast. Went off pretty smooth.
That was a lot of fun.
It's cool to do that again, but good golly, that was a tough day too. So
despite all that, like you said, all the time off, it's definitely still been a hectic first few weeks back with trying to get everything up to what we need to be open and all that. So
right, yeah. And so it'd be nice to I looked at the calendar for this week, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Right? And then we ended up having a freaking busy day on a Wednesday.
Yeah,
yesterday.
That was insane.
So, anyways, like I said, kind of nice, kind of just chilling out a little bit this weekend, getting a chance to just not race, maybe just put the feet up a little bit, float a little bit, maybe relax, and not
Buoyancy.
do the. I have some. Yeah, the time off has helped me out in the floating department.
Nice.
But our guest today, he's not from around here originally, like I said, and I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say and see if he do any traveling and does he go and do some different things. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on our guest today, the Bob Niles. Bob Niles, thanks for coming out, buddy.
I appreciate you having me. I'm surprised you're having me. I'm nobody famous.
He will be now, as Derek likes to say. You made the long trek up from the shop, all 500 or so feet it was.
It was uphill.
Both ways sometimes, I bet it feels like. But like I said in the intro, obviously you are the engine guy here, the lead mechanic, and the doer of all things. But in your own words, what is the 9 to 5 for you, or what is the occupation that you kind of do?
Well, main thing is to keep all the motors running. The hard part is keeping them running fairly equal.
Right.
That's the hardest part because our head driver demands that they be within pretty close. So that's the hardest part of the job, is trying to make 40 motors pretty close to each other. Among anything else that should break, electrical, plumbing, carpentry, fix the door.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, that's what I do. I take care of everything. I'm mainly the maintenance guy, the head mechanic. When we first started working here, there was just me and Rob, so no matter what it was, we had to do it ourselves.
Right.
At that time, we didn't have the help for it. So
And it was always cheaper to do it yourselves too.
Oh, yeah, a lot cheaper.
And for those that don't know, Bob Niles is the father of Rob Niles, who owns CalSpeed, and certainly a behind-the-scenes guy yourself. And even lately, Rob's been that way, but he's been at the sharp end for many years. You talk about those early days coming out here. I know, like I'd mentioned, you're not from California originally.
No, I'm good old Chicago boy.
Boy.
Yeah, it's the only place I've ever, other than Chicago, it's the only place I've ever lived.
And how long have you lived here in California?
Oh, got to be close to 20 years now.
20 years?
Somewhere around there.
So you spent a good chunk over there in Chicago and whatnot, and going racing and doing things. Just to segue into it, how did you get the racing bug, or how did you get into racing in the first place?
Well, it started out when we were kids. We were poor. We didn't have anything. So anything we could work on or fix, a motor, an old car. There was plenty of old cars laying around because they were 10, 15, 25 bucks. When I was a kid, you could buy a piece of junk.
A full-size car?
We'd make it run. We'd do stuff with it, and that's how we learned. And then we got into drag racing, street racing, basically. Hot rods. Had a little Quarter Kings club we belonged to, which none of us could ever win the quarter, but we were kings. So that's how it started, and I got into that. And then
How old were you when you started getting in it? Like, just on the first part, the actual working on the cars. How old were you? Did you get your first car or start turning wrenches right away? How old were you?
13.
13.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you start driving them?
13.
13.
Yeah, we lived in farm country.
Okay.
So there was no heavy traffic or anything, and we weren't farmers, but all around us, all my friends were farmer kids. So if Johnny wanted to play or do something, we had to go over and help him do his chores, which the old man was smart. But they'd say, take the trucks uptown, gas them up, stop at the tractor place, get this done. We'd drive uptown. You'd see 13-year-old kids driving,
It was a normal thing.
normal thing, tractors, trucks, everything. And the cop would be there. We had one cop. He'd say, now you boys go straight home with those trucks.
Right.
Is Chicago in like the 1800s? What is this? Like,
No, it's
one cop. Is it Chicago proper, or is it like outskirts?
no
or?
suburb.
Okay.
Suburb of Chicago. Prairie View, Illinois, Wheeling, Illinois. These are places you probably never heard of.
A little bit out of Chicago proper.
There was a place called Half Day, Illinois, and it was called Half Day, Illinois because when the covered wagons came, and this is before my time, it took a half a day to get from downtown Chicago to this town. And they would sleep overnight, water, feed the horses, all that, and then travel to Wisconsin. So, we go back. There's a lot of history there.
So to give the listeners a reference, how old or what year were you born? That way they have an idea of what you're talking about.
1941.
41.
Yeah, right at the end of the Pearl Harbor and all the war and all the stuff. So it was a rough time.
Right.
So
Now you're talking about being poor or whatnot. At 13, you were talking about getting a car at a handful of dollars. Is it you guys doing like chores or like doing little odd jobs to get the money? And then how do you is there like a junkyard or something where do you just go pick up a car for $15?
we lived at junkyards.
Oh, okay.
That was a kid's thing. And there was always, nearby was an old abandoned hunk of land that was not good enough for farming, so people dumped cars there. So we'd go there and play and get parts. We built, when we got into stock car racing, we actually would go to the junkyard looking for parts.
What was the first car that you got that was yours?
49 Packard.
49 Packard. Is
Yeah.
this the first thing at 13 you're wrenching on this guy?
Yeah, it was a big old four-door piece of junk, but my stepfather, I was an orphan, so I was out of an orphanage.
Okay.
And the people that raised me traded in their car, and the guy says, well, I really don't want the car, but I'll give you $50 for it on trade, and I'll give it back to you for $1. So I bought it for $1.
Wow.
And that was the first piece of junker. Actual first car, my grandma had an old Studebaker in her garage, which hadn't moved in years. And she said, well, if you can get it running, you can have it. We got it running. So,
What did it take?
a battery, some gasoline, take the carburetor apart and clean it and, put some oil in it. And
How old were you at that point?
14, 15.
That's-
That was the first car. And it wasn't, we didn't get to drive it on the streets and stuff, but
Sure.
around the neighborhood, and
Right.
in the fields. We had a lot of fun back then.
Were you drag racing already at 14?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Everything. We did. Sure. But in the fields and on the back
Sure,
streets.
sure.
There was no cars. There was literally nobody.
Yeah.
It was farm country. So
So you're doing the drag racing thing, and you're working on some cars, building your own stuff. What were you doing for? What was your first job later on? Do you think?
first real job was in a grocery store, bagging groceries.
Okay.
And that's where I got a first real job. I had jobs,
Odd and end stuff.
odd and ends stuff. We used
Yeah.
on Sundays, I would fold papers at the local grocery store, Royal Blue. I would put the comics and stuff together. You had to put the paper together back in them days. And then the owner would give me 50 cents and then take us out to breakfast, which
Oh,
was
wow.
a big thrill to go to an actual restaurant. So
Yeah.
that was nice. So that was my first job.
Are you
Okay.
are you using this this grocery store money to put back in the car? And was the car thing, was that culture? Whatnot, were you really into it? Like okay, I love this car stuff. And did the racing kind of play into that as well? Like, were you like, I love cars and I love this drag racing thing? Like, was it like really bit you?
It just was a way of life.
Okay.
Everybody, all the kids in town had a car. And we all had hot rods or something. And, some were really nice. The richer kids had really nice stuff. Poor kids had hot rods that we threw together. But it was just something to do.
When you started doing the drag race and stuff and whatnot, how are you trying to? Are you guys like you trying to figure out how to go a little bit faster? Are you trying to bolt different things on there? And
Oh yeah, always trying to. I mean, my paycheck stopped at the speed shop every week to buy something for the car. If I had all that money today, whew, I'd be retired. So yeah, that's all it was. It's we didn't have the things you have today. There was no electronics. There was no games. There was nothing. Our
You were
cars were our lives.
Yeah.
That was our fun.
so then we're talking 50s into the 60s here, that you're going out there and as a teenager building cars up and also the kind of stuff. Do you at what point, you said did a little bit of stock car racing? So did you go and watch races at all? I mean, would you start?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Saturday night races were, it was a local thing. We'd go to O'Hara Field, which is no longer there, but they had a quarter-mile racetrack. It's where I started running actual stock cars. I'd go to every Saturday night and watch the races.
How old were you when you started doing that? And then at what age did that transition into you driving or racing there, being a part of it, instead of watching?
It all kind of grew together a little bit. We did the hot rod and some things, and then I actually got into construction field, which I actually loved it, and that my career started taking off from there in that business. And then later we just started. I met a buddy of mine I hadn't seen in a while, and he said, "Let's put a stock car together." So we put, not much of a car, but we put something together so we could go out and just have some fun, and we raced at this track.
So you say you got into construction. Maybe we're jumping ahead a little bit, but what? How did you get into construction right out of school, right as a late teen, or how'd that whole thing go?
Well, actually, I was bagging groceries, and I had a couple checkers that I always bagged for them because we got along real good. And this one older lady said, "How'd you like to get a real job, make some good money?" I says, "Doing what?" She said, "Well, my husband's looking for laborers for construction." I says, "Well, how much does it pay?" Well, it was like almost triple of what I was making at the grocery store. I said, "Yeah." So
They gave you $1.50 on lunch.
well, at that time, we were getting $1.25 an hour at the store. And I went into construction, was making $3.05 an hour. I was the richest kid in the block. I mean, that was enormous. And overtime was something you could have all you wanted. So we were making some big money for kids.
So you actually get into construction early.
Oh, yeah, 17. I started in construction at 17.
And in
Labor.
At what time is the stock car thing? Is that much later, the stock car thing, or is that actually fairly?
Yeah, a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah, because we went into that, and then I went and got an apprenticeship in construction, served my apprenticeship, and then once I got out of that, I was a full-fledged bricklayer. So I was making real good money. So then we started playing with the cars a little more. and stuff like that, and then
You had more money to spend on it.
we had
so,
more
yeah.
money to spend. We had an actual real stock car we built,
Wow.
that was capable. I mean, I guess some of the highlights of that would be racing against Fred Lorenzen, a
No
few guys
way.
like that. Dick Trickle.
Is this at the
Wow.
local dirt? Was it a dirt track? I assumed it was dirt.
No, asphalt.
Oh, no way.
It was all asphalt, yeah. Dirt track was another track in, Waukegan, Illinois, was all dirt modifieds.
Gotcha.
So this was real stock car racing on quarter, half mile.
Did now you talk about Lawrence and Trickle and whatnot. Did the actual Cup Series come by here? The actual traveling Cup Series? I can't remember what the hell they call it. Grand National Series?
Grand
back then?
Nationals, Winston Cup. No, it wasn't part of that. It was the local racing.
Gotcha.
These guys were young guys too.
Oh.
And at that time they were big at the local tracks. Dick Trickle was a golden name. I mean, just to have him lap you a couple times with the throw. And guys like that, and they went on to the big time.
Right.
So
Did you feel pretty good in the car? Like, do you think, did you have any wins or good moments in the car? Or?
yeah, I have one win.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
One win in the car. Oh, yeah. We got lucky one night and got a first place in one of the things. So
Nice.
yeah, I still got a picture of that. So
So were you owner, driver, mechanic all together, or were you driving somebody else's?
no,
or?
I had a partner
Okay.
who went in it. We split the driving at first, and then we had friends. And at that time, everybody worked for free. Make beer money and stuff like that. So
Right.
it was the old days. And everybody was in the pits. Everybody helped everybody. So that was it. We just worked our way along, and then guys like those big names moved on to NASCAR and stuff like that.
Wow.
So you're doing that stuff, and it must be in your 20s at that point,
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking 60s. So karting is now becoming a thing in the it's what late. God, I always forget the date, and that's terrible. I mean, by like late 50s, I believe, is when the first karts are starting to come around and whatnot. Are they making it back your way in the 60s and whatnot? And when did you start doing the karting thing? And how did you get into karting, I should say?
Oh, that's a weird story too.
Let's
hear that. Let's start there,
That's what
yeah.
we got to hear. Yeah.
I was into karting, and I was out one night partying at the local bar. We were having a good time, and I met this guy, and we kind of hit it off. And he said, "What are you doing Saturday?" He said, "You ever drive a go-kart?" I said, "No, I never drove a go-kart. I'm in the big car. I don't play with go-karts." So he said, "Come on over to my shop." Well, I go over there, and he's got a shop that's just probably the size of 3 of these buildings, and carts stacked up to the ceiling.
Wow.
He had bought into it big time. And so we got in a cart and went around the parking lot, raced around buildings till I ran into something, and then that started the friendship. And
That was day one. You guys were running around in the area, and
we had so much fun back in them days. His father, this was a man named Johnny Anstead. He owned Lakefront Karting Sales, was a big kart shop. And it basically was a write-off for his father's business. His father owned a power nail company. Remember, power nail guns you have today?
oh yeah, like the pneumatic ones. and
They
whatnot.
were in the early stages of it.
Gotcha.
So they
Wow.
made the nails, guns, and everything. So they had so much money, it was unreal. And they bought the kart shop to keep the kid busy. And he was about 19. I was 21, 22. So I wound up actually taking care of him, babysitting him, because I could keep an eye on him. So, but he took us to all the races. He paid for everything. The company paid all our expenses, our karting, and everything else.
How big was karting back then in the Chicago area?
It,
And how long had it been around roughly? Could you tell at that point?
at that point, I'd say it had been around 10 years at least.
Okay.
Because it was early carts, because a lot of the carts on the shelves were old bug carts. And that was a cart that had steel paddles that pressed on the tires for brakes and stuff like that. And that was really early. And then when I got into it, time I got with them, they had drum brakes on the cart.
Oh,
And
okay.
stuff like that.
Were you kind of hired on as a mechanic, or
Babysitter.
really that was it? Yeah.
Well, it was a big job, so we had to learn. I mean, I knew nothing about carts, but I basically understood mechanics. So if it's
Yeah, you've been working on shit
working
since you
on
were
cars
13.
all my life, so it didn't matter. So we started working with him, and karting was really got big. I mean, my first major race, which I knew nothing about driving a go-kart, was at a Grand National Championship on Wide World of Sports. We were
Wow.
on TV.
Wow.
Yep. That was
Holy crap.
Welcome to karting, Bob Niles.
welcome to karting.
Man.
I mean, I still got pictures of the big cranes up in the air with the cameras down on the track, and
You had your big break before you even knew it was your big break.
didn't know anything about it. I was just hanging around and running at the back of the pack.
What and what are we driving? What are the classes back then? What
Oh,
did they have?
I just had an old McCullough 6 or 8. I don't even remember what it was, on just single engine kart. That was all. And they had all the classes. Similar to what we have today, only back then the big class was dual engines. Today it's shifters and stuff like that. But
In the
yeah,
sprint racing, right?
sprint racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We didn't get into road racing till later in life.
Gotcha.
Much later in life, we
Hey.
got into road racing.
And is this a proper track, or is this like kind of a
Oh,
built
Parking
something
lot?
in a parking lot, or what?
real deals.
They really had
Real
So you guys had a kart track, or were they on a car track that they were doing?
Regular kart track.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Regular kart track. Rockford, Illinois. Had the world champion, nationals, whatever you want to call them back then. And they had just thousands of people there.
That's
It was
awesome.
unreal. Yeah, TV stars, stuff like that were there, and everything.
How long did you work with this team for?
I'm going to say 4 years.
Okay.
Maybe 4 or 5 years. Until I got married, and then I got married, and he didn't want anybody on the team that was married.
Huh.
He wanted all single guys.
That's where he drew the line.
Yeah.
That's where he drew the line.
And pretty competitive. You?
Not in the beginning. I got a little better competitive as I got older. Mainly, I think I was better once I left the kart shop. Now, maybe my last year I was getting pretty decent. So then after that, I had another guy that kind of sponsored me. He loved racing, but he weighed about 300 pounds and just couldn't do it. But he loved it. So he said, would you drive for me? So I got a ride. I got to drive his, and it was a dual.
Oh
Wow.
And I found out that I could drive the dual better than the single.
Interesting.
Why do you
Well,
think that is?
I don't know, the power I felt in it, I could drive it better. Couldn't have never explained that. But I fought with the single engine thing. I guess you have to say you really have to be a good driver to drive something that's slow. And not really slow, but you couldn't make mistakes. The dual, you could make mistakes because you had the power.
Right.
It's like a shifter. You can make a mistake in a shifter and rebound from it. So that was it. It was.
What kind of is it? Like a club series that you're doing back there? Are you guys traveling around a bunch? Like, how far out of this Chicago area are you guys going to go racing? How many tracks are there or whatnot at this point?
At this point, we raced quite a bit. Raced in Indianapolis, Texas, Detroit, Rockford. I can't even think of them all. But yeah, no,
You
there
were
was
going pretty far then.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, we
Wow.
traveled. We had a big trailer, and
Were you
How-
doing the carts and the cars at the same
no,
time then?
no.
Okay.
We just got into karting. I'd gotten out of the cars or was just getting into them. I forget what it was. Which
So
came first?
the cars are done now at this point, and you're just doing the karting stuff.
The hot rodding, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, no. Actually, the stock car stuff really came. The good stock car stuff came after karting.
Gotcha.
Yeah. We decided. In fact, one of the guys that gave me the ride in the duel wound up being part of the team when we got the stock car.
Huh.
So
All right.
it was
So you
pretty
doing
good then.
karting during your apprenticeship and stuff like that? Or
Yeah.
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 Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. I'd sneak away for a weekend, get the boss let me have a day or two off so we could leave Friday or Thursday to go to the race. So that was pretty good. Similar to what it is today. You load up, you travel, not quite as nice as you have it today.
Right. Right.
And, we didn't have fancy pits and stuff like that, or all these nice lifts and, all our trailers were like side load trailers. You loaded everything in the sides of the trailers.
Right.
Nose to nose. And
Wow.
yeah, it was a beginning. I mean, we'd go to the races in the very beginning when there was guys who made their own karts. You'd see more homemade stuff come to the track. You'd see stuff that you'd laugh at today. And the guys raced them.
Yeah.
They did anything, before there was rules, but there wasn't as strict as they are today on how that chassis has got to be, pass tests and all this stuff. You could build your own kart and come to the track.
That reminds me of the early days of like NASCAR, like not even early days, but I mean all the way up until like when I started watching it in the late '80s.
It was out of your garage.
Yeah, I mean that Days of Thunder deal where they're out of the barn.
Yeah.
I mean that's literally what's going on.
Right.
For some of them, right? I mean Alan Kawicki, one man guy or whatever, owning his own deal. You could actually build a car in the '80s and
Yes.
run Cup.
And be competitive.
Yeah, so it doesn't surprise me at all, those early days of karts and even several years into it, that people that had I mean, hell, Nathan built his go-kart,
Right, yeah.
that works here. So, I mean, certainly if you get the know-how, the bending and the tools, everything like that, you can make it happen.
Yeah, we built our own stock car. It was totally built. We knew what to do. We had friends that had built stock cars, so they helped us lay out the welding and what we had to plate and stuff like that, and where to make the frame strong and weak, and put in the coils for your jack bars and all that stuff and everything like that. Ours was totally built by ourselves. So, yeah, you had to build everything. You couldn't afford. You just couldn't afford it. So,
Well, and so in your teenage years, you're first starting out when you're just snagging cars from the lot next to you and whatnot, and learning how to wrench on stuff, and also I assume a ton of trial and error and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And then you end up doing the karting thing as you're getting the apprenticeship and stuff like that. You finish up karts and the apprenticeship about the same time, and you start doing the car stuff a little bit more heavily. Is that kind of how that rolled?
yeah, after I got married and I was not with the factory team anymore, I wound up getting into the stock cars a little heavier. So we kind of that whole group was karters that were friends. So we went into stock cars and we built our first car and stuff like that. And we did okay. I mean, we didn't win no championships or anything, but you just couldn't beat these guys that were just so good drivers. And they knew the chassis more than we knew. We were going by, can you tell us what to do? What do we do here? We couldn't afford tires. We bought their used tires. When they were done with them, they'd sell us used tires.
Gotcha.
So, but we got to do it.
How long did you do the car thing there after the that first
Probably
time?
only a few years.
Okay.
A couple of years. My son was born, and I had to make a decision. Do I go ahead with life or do I stay in the racing business?
You're right.
And we thought, well, we're really not good enough to make it.
Right.
It's so hard to get anywhere.
How old were you roughly at that time?
25 at that time.
So you're 25, and it's ironic. I mean, obviously you've done a lot of living and doing a lot of stuff. Already had a career and all this other kind of stuff at 25. But we, talking to a lot of people these days too. It's kind of that 25 to 30 or whatever, where life starts hitting you. Start going, do I want to try to be a race car driver or figure out the rest of my life or whatever. Yeah. So you say your son's born. Is that Rob?
That's Rob, my first son.
And do you just basically at that point you hit pause on racing essentially, and now it's career time and
that's
making money, etc.?
That's what we did. We decided that we wanted to get a nice house. We wanted to do things, and the money was going into the car. And at that time, at the local tracks, there wasn't big money to be made. You can't go there like today and make $100,000 by running 20th. Yeah. Back then, you were shooting to make $150, $200 a night. Just enough to pay for entry fees and gas and stuff like that. So you didn't make a lot of money at it.
Yeah.
So, even the NASCAR guys weren't making that kind of money. So I decided, let's settle it down. So we sold the car, and that was it. Became a family man.
Was your wife kind of on board with you stopping racing, or did she?
She went along with it. Yeah, she went along. She knew I wanted to do it and stuff like that. And then no woman is thrilled with it,
right? Yeah,
because your time and your mind is occupied.
Right.
So no, but she went along with it fine.
And then once you hit pause on the whole thing, she's like, "Oh, no, this is what I'm talking about."
Yeah. We had to get ahead, so we just put our thoughts into building a family, building the future, and stuff like that. So, which went very well. So,
right.
You just doing the construction thing at that point then?
Oh yeah, I've been in construction all my life mostly. I stayed in construction until I was 40.
Wow.
So I had my own company at once I got out of school and stuff, I became a superintendent for a big company. So life was good. And then I decided I wanted to do it on my own. So I went into business for myself, which was successful. Not the biggest company in the world, but I was happy.
Yeah.
We were paying the bills. We had nice things, and stuff like that. So just stayed in it. I was good at it. I was really good at it. So we did.
And so you end up doing the construction thing, good at it, having a good old time. And you say you're in construction until you're 40 or so, right?
Until at 40.
So when does racing start coming back into the game? And to that point, at what point does Rob come to realize that, hey, Dad used to do some racing stuff and whatnot? Was that kind of like, don't tell Rob about the racing, or does he like?
Did he want to live up to what his dad was doing?
No, I don't know if he wanted to live up to it, but he was curious. So he saw my trophies. I had trophies and pictures and stuff on the wall and stuff like that. And he asked me one day, he said, Dad, you think those racetracks, did you race? And I explained it to him. Yeah, I did this, I did that. And then I said, he said, do you think those tracks are still there? I said, I don't know, son. I said, I haven't been there in years. I mean, I'd quit, and he was 9 years old, I think, at this time. I said, well, let's get in the truck and go. So we went out, and believe it or not, my track that I ran at was still open and still running.
Wow.
Is this the kart track?
Kart track.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we went to, I wanted to show him Meadowdale. Meadowdale was like, I don't know, one of your big sports car places out here. Watkins Glen, something like that.
Right,
Meadowdale was a racetrack built back in the 50s that was supposed to be the supreme ultimate F1 racetrack in the world. It has what was called the Mazda wall. The Mazda wall was almost a direct 90-degree straight-up wall. You had to be doing well over 100 to get up there. F1 came out, tested the track, came back in the pits and said, you don't have any runoff areas. And the track never succeeded.
Wow.
The most beautiful track you've ever seen.
What's it called one more time?
It was called Meadowdale Raceway.
Meadowdale.
You can look it up on the line. It's still, I think there's still stuff on the computer about it.
Wow.
And it was, like I said,
this was made in the 50s, you said?
made 50s, 60s.
So, I mean, shit, you had to be able to, I mean, we're talking about those F1 cars. So it's not like they're going, there's no like ground effects and crap like that for downforce. That's an ambitious track.
That was an ambition. It was a beautiful track.
The balls of each driver to get up on the wall,
right?
Yeah, it was a challenge to go up on the wall. We did it with the karts once.
Oh, wow.
It was so bumpy.
Yeah,
It was so bad. I got to do it once. I got about halfway up, and that was as far as the cart had enough.
That reminds me of those old video deals of the old Monza oval.
Yeah.
And you just see how the cars moving around and bumping around and whatnot. And to think about doing that in a go-kart?
Yeah.
Good golly.
I had to go up there once just to try it. Went up there once. That was it. Once. Won't come right back down. I won't go up there again. I mean, it's like to throw you out of the seat because you're hanging sideways already.
Yeah.
So something you had to do. But it was a beautiful track, and they just never figured in enough runoff area at the end of chutes and stuff.
Wow.
And F1 said, we won't run here. So we wound up running go-kart races on there. They turned it into a drag racing track. They turned it into a sports car track. And I'm talking the old days that when a guy ran around a corner and tipped over, the audience came out and flipped the car back on his wheels, and the guy kept going.
Yeah.
That's crazy stuff like that. So, but that track is no longer there. It's a shopping mall now, or something like that. Yeah.
So is that the track that you went to, or one of the tracks that you went to?
One of the tracks I showed him, but I just showed up. Then the bridges were out; you couldn't drive on it really, but it was still there. And he was just so impressed with that. He said, "Can I try karting?" Talked to my wife. She says, "Yeah, let's see what we can do."
I got some bad news.
Yeah, exactly.
I got some bad news for you.
Knew I should have had those trophies.
Was Joe around at this time?
No, Joe wasn't born. Yes, he was, but he was more or less a baby. Rob was 9. Joey was 6.
Okay.
6 only. So he was small.
Right.
So when Rob wanted to do it, I said, let's go to the kart shop. We went to Gem Products, which was a big kart shop, supplied all the pipes and mufflers, and Gem Products was a big
kind of like RLV back then.
Yeah, Dave Larson and them. I don't know. He still bums around once in a while here. His dad owned it, and he ran it and stuff like that. So we went down there, and he's got a kart here, brand new, $500, ready to go, $500. Well, it was basically a yard cart. I didn't know at the time what he said. Yeah, you can run it. We picked it up. He ran it around the yard. I said, let's take it to the track. So we went to the track, and it was funny because we got there, and they said, this kart ain't gonna make it. They said it's not up to specs to be on a real go-kart track.
How different was that yard kart from what you were driving when you were karting? Because we're talking, what, a good 15 years down the lane probably, right?
It was...
Or no, not, maybe 10 years.
It was not a big difference. Not a real big difference. A solid seat, tank on the back of the seat, stuff like that. There was no adjustments of any kind. You could put air in the tires or air out of the tires.
Yeah.
That was your adjustment.
And it was just kind of a lawnmower engine on it?
Yeah, 5 horsepower Briggs.
Yeah.
Similar to what we run today.
Yeah.
So
And
what about that go-kart's not going to make it around the joint?
well, they said it didn't spit past tech.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So they gave us a list of what we had to do, and they were laughing kind of, they all had their nice carts. So we went home and we made it legal.
Mm-hmm.
And we came out and started running with it. The only thing we found out that Rob was an exceptional driver. So we won the championship with that cart.
You get out of town.
Nice.
I'm not kidding you.
You guys bought a
Best
yard
$500
kart.
you've ever spent.
And turn. Yeah.
So I have to assume you put a little bit of Bob Niles ingenuity in this.
Well,
thing.
into the motor and stuff, yeah, I was really good with the motors and stuff. So we had a fast motor. We were protesting more than you can shake a stick at, because guys.
There's no way you should be able to win in this go-kart. That's what they got to be saying.
That's what, yeah.
Well, we beat a factory team at the
Oh,
Nationals
my.
with that cart.
Is this you said this is the first year?
Yeah, right away we got into it.
You get a yard cart, and
Probably
you're telling me you win the bloody Nationals out of the gate with
Not
this?
the Nationals, but the
the regional stuff?
regional stuff.
Okay.
Regional stuff.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
Wow.
balls.
And that's all we had. And I never told Rob that he couldn't win with it.
Right.
I just said, your cart's a little different than some of the other ones.
And he's 9.
He was 9 when he started.
What kind of classes did they have back then? Because I know cadets wasn't really a thing until the 90s.
Right. Well, you went from the Briggs, 5 horsepower Briggs on there, and you went right into 2-cycle, 100cc.
So he was winning in the 4-stroke.
He was running the 4-stroke stuff.
Gotcha. With I just assume anybody who was in the class. Did they have a kids class or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. He was in a kids class,
Okay.
and they had to wait. Things like today, you had to weigh in. The cart had to weigh X amount and stuff like that. So, yeah, we did good with it.
Holy crap!
We stayed there at one race till 10 o'clock at night while they literally tore apart the motor, every nut and bolt. Because the guy who protested us said, there's no way. My motor came from California. It was built by somebody out here.
Yeah.
You can't beat me out of your garage. He said, you're cheating. I said, okay. We stayed there till 10 o'clock at night while he tore my motor apart bolt for bolt. And the tech guy said, there is nothing wrong with this motor. It's just well put together. And that was it. And we had a good driver.
Yeah.
My driver was better than his driver. He wouldn't admit that. So, but we went through a couple of days like that.
Right. Yeah.
early
Yeah.
on.
So you end up getting back in the game then. God, you'd have been in your mid 30s then, because they're about and Rob's running now, and so you go from all this time off. What you're going to focus on, but you're still doing the construction thing. Sounds like you still have your own business or like that. That's year 1. Is there you guys just keep is karting full on, racing full on now with him and I know that didn't say Joe got into karting a bit as well, didn't he?
He did a little bit later. Joe was rambunctious because Rob, I made him wait till he was 9 and a half before he really could race.
Oh, but little brother over here,
Little
right?
brother wanted to do it at 7, and it's trying to balance that out with kids.
Right,
Try to
yeah.
make them understand you're not old enough yet, So, yeah, Joe finally got into it more or less after we got going a little bit. But meanwhile, Rob had gone on. We were in 100cc stuff already. So we had better carts and stuff like that. So, yeah, he did real good. I mean, we were
One of the
up
guys
there.
to beat.
We were one of the guys to beat.
Yeah.
Right.
Were you guys always a privateer out of the back of the pickup program, or did you guys? Yeah.
Basically, we never really, and probably one of the mistakes I made, I should have really teamed up at one of the shops, but I dealt with all the shops. I bought stuff here, I bought stuff there, I got information here, information there. So we were kind of like independents, and that's what ticked everybody off, is we were working out of my garage,
Yeah.
not nobody behind us. We got a little help here. A couple guys sponsored us for this or that.
You still building all the motors and everything like
Well,
that?
yeah, did
Were,
everything.
were you doing motors for anyone else at the time, or it was all for the kid and you?
No, it was just for us. I didn't do any motors like that. Similar today, we would have the motor blueprinted, and then I would take it from there.
Okay.
Once the expert who knew how to blueprint did all the machining and everything, I would do all the rebuilding and rings and pistons and all that stuff. So we maintained our own motors. It was just too expensive. Even though I was doing good, it still cost a lot of money.
Yeah, you're still not making, getting any big checks from these race wins,
No,
So,
yeah.
Trophies, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah, and that the scrapyard didn't pay much for those.
I was
either.
about to say, yeah, you got to go get as much as you can for those things.
Yeah, not much anymore. So.
Hey, Robbie, we need you to win a couple more. We need to make some metal out of these things. Trade them in.
So Rob's doing really good. How long are you part of his karting program for? Are you part of it for the whole duration of his karting career?
The whole duration of the karting thing until he actually moved to California. We raced. We went from sprint racing. We went into enduro racing, which we enjoyed even more, and that was a lot of fun. But it was expensive. Not so much the karting, the travel.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Kind of like it is now, to be honest. I mean, it's more expensive. You almost spend almost as much, if not more, on the travel. Sometimes.
Yeah. Today, you have regions. You run in this region and that region, and then you get together at the end of the year and race each other. Well, they didn't have that there. They had 14 races a year. You had to run 7 of them to qualify for a championship. We could afford to run 7.
Gotcha.
That was it. So
What was the furthest you traveled back then for that?
we'd start out in Rockingham, Alabama,
Jesus.
Charlotte, Daytona, Watkins Glen, Wisconsin up there at what's that big track up there? My mind's
Road
going.
America?
Road America, and Black Hawk Farms.
And these are all the lay down carts.
Yeah,
all the
the
way down
enduro. Okay.
enduro carts. Yeah.
Man.
How old is Rob at this point where you guys have done, you kind of moved from, did you move from sprint to enduro, or did you do a little bit of both?
No, we did. We went from sprint right into enduro. We found it. We liked that.
How'd you find out about it?
It was just there. It
Oh,
was
okay.
something to do. It started out that they were going to have our local club was going to have a sprint race on at Black Hawk Farms, which was a 1 mile road course.
Okay.
Not a whole hell lot bigger than what we have here, but it was through the woods and stuff, so it was fun. So we went up and ran that with sprint carts, and we liked it. And guys brought in some enduro carts, and we saw that and said, "Wow, we got to try this."
Got it. So it kind of falls in your lap, this opportunity to try it out. And at that point, you guys end up making the full-on move. And how old is Rob again? Sorry, right about this time when you guys making that change?
14, 15, right around in there.
And
you
then
know.
is Joe still running with you?
Joe ran enduro too.
Gotcha.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
It's the Niles family racing over here with the 2 kids and Dad doing the wrenching. Are they in the same class at all, or are they doing different?
Different classes. We tried to run different so they didn't have to compete against each other.
Smart dad right there.
Yeah. And it was too much work.
I
to
believe
try to
it.
keep
Right.
2 kids out there in the same class. So
Yeah.
I could get one in a race, and I knew the other one wasn't until the afternoon. So then his race would come up, and that's how we did it. So
How long did you guys do the kart? Obviously, with Rob for a bit, 9 all the way down to this point. But how long did this last? The karting thing?
till he graduated high school and wanted to go to college. So the pocketbook said college or racing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he was smart enough to choose college, so which was a wise move on his part.
You got a favorite memory or something from back in the day with the kids?
Oh God, there's a lot of great memories. I would say my greatest memory with Rob was we were going to the what was it? Season championship. We got up late. We never were up late. This day we got up late. Oh my God. We loaded. We were already loaded, threw the coolers in the truck, raced to the racetrack. There was nowhere to park. At our track, there was no pits like this.
Right.
You parked your stuff in the parking lot and carried your stuff into the pits. And your pit spot was about 8 foot long by 6 foot wide. That was your pit spot.
Almost enough for the go-kart, and that's about it.
Enough for a stand and the cart shop. So we get there late. There's no place to park. We drive around, go to the back of the track, back into the weeds, up to the fence. Our buddies see us. We hand the carts over the fence into the pits.
Wow.
He drops them down. I think the wife went and signed us in, got us signed in, got us our pit passes and everything else. And it was just time to qualify.
Jesus.
So we warmed them up, checked the air, did everything set. We knew the track. It wasn't that bad, but we didn't have any relaxation time.
Yeah.
So the memory started here. Rob goes out, breaks a track record. Comes back in. I guess we were under pressure. And I was racing at the time, too.
Okay.
I went out in my class, broke the track record.
No way.
No way.
Wow. Oh, man.
And we both won the season championship that day. So we're standing there both with the same trophy.
Get out
That's
of here.
awesome.
That's my greatest memory of the two of us. Something probably a father and son very seldom or has never done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Both of us broke the track record that day. Both of us won the season championship in the same day.
And you almost didn't get rolling there.
And we almost barely got there. We thought we were done.
Wow.
So and obviously Rob did more of that, pursued the racing thing more than Joe. What was one of your better memories with Joe that you had?
Comedy memories? I got a lot of those.
Well, yeah,
so
that's the other thing. You said obviously, like none of the listeners know Joe.
So yeah, to add a little context, Rob and Joe are brothers, and they are complete opposites.
100%.
One's the suit and tie, the other one's the Hawaiian shirt, if you will. And,
Yeah.
And Rob went on to pursue racing. Joe has done a number of things, but yeah, they're both different.
completely
same
different
tree,
personalities.
fell on different sides.
Yeah. The funny thing was Joe was a good driver.
Mm-hmm.
He could drive, but he couldn't listen.
Oh.
So Rob was very studious, you might say. He studied. He wanted to know why this was this, why this happened here. He talked with other drivers. What are you doing here and stuff like that. Where Joe was like, hey, what's going on? And I guess it's a silly story, but Joe, we're checking the carts out, getting ready to go, and Joe's online getting his enduro. I said, Joe, did you go over the whole cart? Check the tires, check the wheels, check the air, check. Yeah, Dad, I did it all. Okay.
That's definitely him.
They start the race. Joe takes off. He's about third or fourth right off the line. He got a great jump. He comes, and all of a sudden, everybody's coming around and no Joe. Where's Joe? I'm waiting. No Joe. The whole pack goes by, no Joe. He must have broke down or something. All of a sudden, somebody walks up behind me. It's Joe carrying both front wheels in his arms. I said, you never checked the front tires for the nuts, did you? He said, no, I didn't, Dad. Both front nuts came loose.
Oh, man.
And we had them off to balance them and stuff and put them back on, but it didn't tighten everything up. I said, you do that. He didn't do it.
I needed a picture of that.
I couldn't even be mad at him.
Yeah.
Couldn't even be mad. It was so funny that he did that. But yeah, he did. He won a few. He won a few races too. He just wasn't quite as serious as Rob was about it.
Right.
So
Went about a different way.
yeah, just two different boys. It's hard to believe that they could be that different. But raised in the same house, under the same rules, just
Different program. Now, I want to go back to you talking about you got in the seat and you won that championship. At what point did you get back in? Because obviously the kids are running. And what makes you get back in the seat? Are you just watching the kids going, God, I'd like to give this another go?
Yeah, I just decided, hey, I'm going to play with it too a little bit. And that's what we did. We actually, at one time, when he got to first enduro, we shared it.
Oh, wow.
Rob would run his race. He'd come in. I'd change the pedals and everything. I'd go out and try it. And then Joe wanted to do it, so he started doing it. And then it became too much work.
Yeah.
For
And that's,
three.
that's it. I'm just
got
wrenching for you guys. I quit that.
Now, was the enduro kind of like it was when you did the dual for the first time, and you jump in the enduro and you go maybe a little bit better, or you had a better time with the enduro than you did the sprint kart, or
about the same. We enjoyed both of them, So
I mean, you specifically, because you had said, when you went to the dual engine, that you did better in that than you did the single.
Yeah. Do you like one more than the other?
Yeah. Do you feel like you even did better in the enduro than you did the sprint kart?
Yeah, the enduro was the high speed, I guess, of the enduro. When you're, back in those days, we had points in the motors. I don't know, what those points are, but they don't have it. Everything's today electronic ignition, but that day you had points. And I had a man, Old Man Johnson. He could maverick points. I don't know if you know what that means. But he could make points identically work together in two different engines. And what would you do? You'd be going down that chute doing 70, 80, and all of a sudden that motor would shift gears. And you would hear this beautiful sound, and you would just pick up speed. And it was when them points mavericked. And it was just a great feeling.
Wow.
Didn't matter if you won, lost, or what. You were just
driving them was
driving.
a lot of fun.
You were driving.
Do you have a
Wow.
particular track that really spoke to you and that, like, ooh, this is a fun course?
Road America was a great track.
Yeah.
I mean, you just 4.5 miles or whatever it is. I mean, you just never got back to the pits. It was horrible for pit guys because you're waiting for your driver to come around. They're just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then the Blackhawk Farms was a lot of fun.
That's
probably
the short 1 mile deal. The Black
a
Hawk,
little
right?
over a mile and a quarter or so through the woods, narrow track.
Do you
Never know
remember how long a set of tires would last on those sprint races for like Road America? Because it was obviously harder tires than what we have today, you know?
Well, we got an enduro a weekend.
Oh,
a whole
really?
weekend out of a set of tires.
Wow.
Practice, running the race, and everything. Except when we got down south, like Rockingham, where the track is so coarse.
Yeah.
The asphalt they use, you take 2 sets of tires.
Okay.
Yeah, it would just eat up tires.
4.5 mile track for 2 days of racing, 1 set of tires.
I was thinking a 4.5 mile track, and you got Joe who doesn't tighten his front. You better not do it on the. It's a long walk.
That was only once.
Yeah.
He only did that once. But that was one of my memories. Of
That was all it took for him. Just do it once, though.
Yeah.
He never
Just
made
to
that
see the look
mistake
on
again.
his face. So
That's awesome.
that was fun.
When Rob decides to do the college thing and whatnot, and racing kind of hits pause again, when do you get back in the game, or do you get back in the karting game or racing game or like that? Did you do it with Joe for a little bit longer, or how'd that go?
No, we both did. They got out of high school. Rob wanted to go to college, and Joe wanted to go to Texas. He had friends down there that all our neighbors had moved away to Texas, and he was real close to the kids. So he wanted to travel. So okay.
And this is all still in Chicago.
Still in Chicago.
Yeah.
Always in Chicago. So so they went off and did their things. Rob at school, and Joe went off to Texas, and we just sold it all. I settled into just working and enjoying my home and, doing stuff like that. So I gave up racing. I didn't race anymore at all.
Yeah.
So I figured I had my time.
Right.
Been there, done that.
Rob ends up going racing again, right? He ends up doing car stuff and whatnot. Are you involved at all in the car game with him?
Not really, because he came back from college, and we went to 1 or 2 kart races, I think. We pulled out the old equipment. I think I still had the equipment in the garage.
Just to go have fun.
We still have the one Enduro.
We still have a
We
lady.
still
Is that
have-
one of them?
His Enduro kart is still in the shed over here.
And that's what you guys went out and ran.
Yeah, and we found out we had an old motor and stuff, so it was just fun to go do it, but it wasn't. We needed to change to catch up.
Yeah.
And then he decided, him and his wife decided to go to California. And I just, I never held any of my kids back. I said, you want to do something, go do it. It's a chance of a lifetime.
Sure.
And he knew, he didn't tell me he was coming out here to really get into racing, but that was his hope, to make it in racing. And they came out here and they paid for their own stuff. I mean, he did Formula Ford, Formula Dodge, then he got into Formula Mazda, and almost had a chance to drive an Indy car, except we didn't have $2 million.
Right.
You didn't have enough construction going on at that point.
That was, they said, bring $2 million in sponsorship or $2 million in cash, and
Wow.
you're in. You're good enough,
Wow.
but it takes money.
Yeah, buddy.
So that's when Rob put his whole heart and soul into creating this.
Right. So and I guess there's the segue right there. So you get a phone call like, hey, Dad, I got this great idea.
But before we get into that really quick, what were you doing to keep yourself busy when he was in college, Joe was in Texas? Were you still doing construction at the time?
Oh, my company.
Okay.
Yeah, we were busy. We had all the work we could handle. So, I mean, I was working Saturdays, some Sundays, whatever.
So we're going to go off on a tangent here for a second. But I want to hear some of the stories because you used to own a bar or a club.
Well, that was my 40th birthday present.
Really?
Yeah, I always wanted to own a nightclub, and I went and bought a nightclub.
Why did you want to own a nightclub?
There's things you want to do in your life, And one of the things was the racing thing, which I did, and I wanted to own a nightclub, and I wanted to own a hot dog stand. I still never got the hot dog stand.
Wow.
But,
Make some Chicago style dogs.
Yeah,
That'd be the whole thing.
Chicago-style dogs. I mean, there wasn't a hot dog stand in Chicago. It didn't have a Mercedes or a Ferrari behind it. Hot dogs were big money
catalyst.
in Chicago.
Man.
Yeah, so I never got into that, but I did get to have the nightclub.
How long were you doing the nightclub for?
10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 10 years, and then kind of got burned out. And,
God, I would imagine. And well, because you said, so you stopped doing construction then.
Yeah.
And said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a business owner in the nightclub game.
Yeah. Actually, this kind of falls together because the boys, when I had the nightclub, I just got the club, and they were still racing.
Oh, wow.
So it all fell in together there. So I went through a divorce, so I didn't say that part. But
Okay.
So they were still racing, so I was running the bar and working construction.
Oh, wow.
Well, they wanted to race. So
I remember you saying this would be construction during the day,
bar at night. Yeah,
just go right to the bar.
Yeah, and then I'd close the bar at 2:30 or so, and then go home, get 3-4 hours sleep, and then go out and do construction.
God forbid there's a race that weekend.
Yeah, right.
If there was a big race, and
Wow.
we didn't go every weekend. We only went to the major meets.
Mm-hmm.
So
You have a lot of fun doing the club?
yeah,
Owning that?
it was a fun time.
Nice.
It was a great experience. Met a lot of big people.
What years were that during? I'm trying to give an idea of what music, what style was
Oh,
going
okay,
on. You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Oh, my bar was country. It was a country bar.
Okay.
I've
man.
always been a plowboy, country boy. So
Gotcha.
it was all country music,
That's
stuff
really
like that.
cool.
It was a restaurant bar, mostly bar. But in Chicago, you have to have a restaurant in order to have a bar.
Oh.
Interesting.
There are no saloons,
Right? Yeah.
only restaurant and lounges. So we had a restaurant and lounge.
There you go.
Yeah.
Very, very small. It's like one booth.
Yeah.
That says his restaurant.
Exactly. He's got the hot dog stand. There's your restaurant.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Basically was it. You had to have
Bypass.
7 or 8 items on your menu, and that was illegal. So that's what we basically did.
Wow.
So
I gotta ask you another question on that deal. So we do these questions in advance, right? And we ask people like a bunch of different stuff. And one of the things is occupation. You put on here dance instructor.
Oh, yeah. I saw that too. I got to hear about this.
Yeah.
I always liked to dance. I always did. My wife loved to dance, and we danced a lot. And when I got the club, I created a program the way I wanted it to be. And at that time, people were learning to do country two-step, country this, country that. They had to pay for it and everything else. So I put together a free seminar on it.
Huh.
And it worked. Only the teachers I hired were horrible. I sat there and I said, you're not explaining this to these people right. It's like having the worst thing you can do in business is have somebody come in to try your product and you don't give them a chance to try it. Mm-hmm. You're too busy worried about the guy that already knows how to use it. So I said, I'm going to try it. I can do this. So I knew the dancing because I had danced. So I started teaching, and I became actually one of the number 1 teachers in Chicago.
Get out of here.
Number 5 in Nashville.
You taught in Nashville? Or there's a ranking
No,
system?
they had a rating throughout the country. I was rated
wow.
in the top 5 teachers in the country.
Bob Niles, everybody.
Jesus
Oh, yeah.
Christ.
I love it.
I got magazines with my picture in them and stuff like that. So
Man,
Holy shit.
I
that
got
is
proof.
awesome.
King of the I was a DJ. I had my own DJ business for a while.
What year was
the
this
club
too?
still?
For the club?
Oh, I was 40. Whatever year that would be.
Carry the one, 81?
81,
Yeah.
80, in the 80s.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So,
Man.
yeah. Kept the bar till I was 50. And then sold it off to, I had a couple partners came in on it with me. And at the end, everybody was using my program and they were opening up other bars. So naturally, competition got tough.
Right.
So when the money was rolling in, they were all happy. When the money started slowing down, and what are you doing wrong? I'm not doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
They said, we want to buy you out. I looked at my wife. I said, sign the papers. So we retired. The bar went out of business in 6 months.
Wow.
It's because they lost their best DJ, dance instructor.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
extraordinaire
yeah,
right
yeah.
there.
And my wife was a personality beyond personalities. She was absolutely, everybody loved her. She
Working the bar as well then?
would help out.
Okay.
She would only work when we were short of help. Bartender didn't show up, waitress didn't show up, she would fill in. But
those would be
no,
the
not
good
her.
days. As it sounds like she'd pop in there and everybody wants to come to the bar.
Yeah. She was just lovable, so she really made me look good. So, so we did that. We had a lot of fun doing it. You know, we DJ'd all over the country. We DJ'd weddings, parties. I had a DJ business going too. So,
Wow.
Up until this point, man, you've done quite a bit of stuff.
yeah, I have no regrets. I mean, I was an orphan kid born in Chicago, put in an orphanage. Got my foster parents, who were my foster parents, not adopt me, but they were foster parents. I don't even like to get into this part of it, but they were killed in an auto accident when I was 15, and at 15 years old, I was out the door on my own.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So I, fortunately, got to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I got to try stuff. There was nobody but me. I had to worry about me, so I just
It could have been tough or make the best of it, and you
made
definitely
the
made the best of it.
Made
you know?
the best of it. You know, like kids said, "Oh, Dad, you were poor. You didn't have anything." I said, "Oh, we had everything." We didn't know we were poor.
All right.
We had fun. We had a good time.
Yeah.
You know, we did the stuff you see on TV today. We did our Saturday night cruising or Friday night cruising, really. And we hit all the spots and
That's awesome.
cruise with our hot rods and stuff. And those are things kids don't really get to do today. Well, they do it, but not.
God, I remember
Like
doing
we
it when I was a kid, but I don't know. Did you ever do that kind of thing?
Nah,
No?
not really.
Skip that generation, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just not the same culture as it was. I think what you
Yeah.
guys got to experience.
There was
you know?
still, I felt like there's still a good amount of car culture when I had a car, like in my early 20s, late teens, and whatnot. There was still a good amount of car stuff. We had mechanics class and stuff like that. We would work on our own shit, and that's when I realized I didn't want to work on my own shit.
Right.
Well, I don't even think they have it in high schools today.
That's what I'm hearing.
We had
Yeah.
electrical shop,
media.
mechanics shop, FFA, auto shop, all.
So I started high school in 2008 or 9, and the only kind of trade that they're offering was a wood shop. They, because of budget and the teacher retiring, a number of things, the mechanic shop stopped offering it. And up until I think a year ago, and I graduated in 12, up until about a year ago, it was just a storage unit. And yeah, it's a nice
wow.
shop. Lifts, big tool, like Snap-on toolboxes. It was a really nice shop. And I think they just got money to be able to start doing it again. Yeah. But it's just not a thing like I think it was towards the end of maybe your generation where it was more of a normal thing, Mike.
Oh yeah, no, we were like kind of what he had said. Well, I wasn't doing it at 13. We were doing like BMX bikes and crap like that. But I remember when and I was doing
as far
karting.
as the trades being there. That's all.
Oh yeah, and all that kind of stuff. Shit, yeah. When I left, they still had everything was there. Like you said, electronics, construction, metals, mechanics, all of it. So
Well, they need that. They need that because today you got to go to college to be anything, and that anything is what? Who knows? It's electronics and stuff. So
certainly
so
sounds
we
like
still need people to weld. We still need people to fix cars. We need.
The
and they're
hands-on
not
stuff, essentially.
They're not promoting it enough. They're not
Yeah.
giving these kids an opportunity who aren't brains.
right.
I'll tell you what, I'm sure you can agree too. It's been crazy how much I've been able to learn from you over this is my 5th year here working at CalSpeed and learning all the different stuff crap that's broken, and you'd be like, hey, you broke it, you got to fix it now,
Yeah.
Well, and
So-
I'd say you're a hell of a lot dancer now too.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot better dance.
Used to be doing the 2-step on the grid all the time.
There you go.
Didn't know you picked that up from Bob, though, did you?
That was
So-
a great experience. Yeah.
So you, again, you end up doing also the kind of stuff. You sell the deal, do the retirement gig, and then at some point you get that phone call about Rob having this grand old idea over here in California. At what point does that happen, and how's that conversation going? You're like, well, I guess I'm getting back into karting. And did you think it would go the way it's gone?
For the most part, it's gone pretty good. As far as getting into it out here, it had nothing to do with karting. Well, I guess Rob was kind of in his back of his mind had something planned, but he came back home to visit us in Chicago and surprised us and said, "You're going to be a grandpa."
Oh, wow.
And my granddaughter was born, or going to be born, and my wife's, our stepchild, children were out here. Joe was out here in California at the time then. And we thought, you know what? All the kids are out there.
Oh, okay.
I don't want these kids to grow up without a grandpa, without
Right.
a grandma. So we sold everything and loaded up the wagon and moved to Beverly.
There's a whole show about you. I
The
see
whole
there's
Yeah,
show.
exactly.
So
Based on actual events.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what
We
they
didn't
say
know
in
it
the
at the time.
title.
So I said I'm basically going to kind of retire and come out and work a little bit. And then it started out I was helping Rob out when he had the rolling track. We weren't at this track yet.
Right,
He
this
had
is
the
the traveling
business.
This is the Speed Ventures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karting
Karting
Ventures.
Ventures. Thank you.
So we just would go on that on a weekend or here and there, and I'd help him out a week or a day or two in the shop, and then the rest of the time was working on my house I'd bought out here, or doing little side jobs here and there. So that's how we really got out here, just to be with the kids.
Got
Wow. Okay.
Because I had a grandson and I had a granddaughter coming, and it's just family.
It was going that way, yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
you sell everything to come out here and hang out with the kids, and
Yeah.
Rob's like, oh, good, because I need a good mechanic and all that other kind
Well,
of stuff.
yeah.
Worked out
And a
nice.
babysitter.
Yeah, it turns
I
out.
got work.
No, I never really became a babysitter. They were pretty strict on how they kept their kids, and they
Nice.
kept, they didn't.
I think he was talking about the shop over here.
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
need a babysitter in the shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of shops, did you guys when you started working on it, you guys had a very glamorous shop area that you guys started in, didn't you? That's
We had-
sarcasm for everybody listening.
Yeah. No. We started went to basically everything getting stuffed in a trailer. He had his trailer that was 100 feet high. Could put the whole team, everything, 15 carts in it, the toolboxes, uniforms, everything we could possibly pack went into one trailer.
So we'll talk more to Rob about this when we have his episode. But basically, what you guys are doing now is it's a traveling corporate thing.
Right.
You have 15 or so of these Stratus carts, and they travel around the country at times, putting on these different endurance races, corporate style stuff, and it's all the back out of the semi essentially.
Is it this semi trailer?
Is it the one here?
No, that trailer's long gone, the original trailer.
Okay.
This we picked up for storage, the semi we have now, and we never used that really except for Vegas and stuff.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but we did it out of a trailer.
and
I remember working out here with a pup tent and working on the carts when it was 100 degrees and no shop, and now we got air conditioned shop, and but that's how it's evolved. We started with literally nothing.
Yeah.
And that trailer was stored at like a barn or something, right?
Yeah,
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah. One of the flagmen that we had here, Brick Brown, had a nice place with some land and stuff in it, just stored up on his property. That's all we had. All he had. He did all this before I came out here. The business already was running.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they had built this track that's out here now, the original track, before I came out here.
You
But
came
we
out here,
weren't stationed here. We would drive the equipment out here.
Oh, God.
and you moved out here about 2001 or so, huh?
Yeah, right around there somewhere.
Okay.
So we came out here and did that, and then finally started to stay here permanently, and then started building stuff. One building, another building, another building,
Yeah.
till we fixed it up to where it is today. So Rob had tremendous ideas of improving karting, taking it from dirt fields and to make it a professional type racing deal,
Yeah.
which I think he's done a great job of doing that, because I still think we're a premier kart track
Yeah.
No, definitely.
as far as what we have to offer people. So
We all think so. That's for sure.
yeah, I
Yeah.
do. And it takes time. Look at the time has gone into getting this track and getting the personnel that we have now.
Sure.
It's just personnel is probably the hardest thing to find. People who love what they're doing, are at least are making a living at it, and enjoying their work. That's the big thing.
And so you end up working out here, doing that whole kind of stuff, but you're actually able to get back into the competition side of karting a little bit. Just a few years back, when you were working with the Senior Moments guys, was I believe the first time you started getting back into that as a tuner and whatnot with those guys a little bit, didn't you? Didn't you
Yeah,
work with
yeah.
Jerry
Yeah,
and those guys a little?
They became my buddy, Jerry Flores, and all those guys, Steve Nakajima and Hugh Robinson and
David Carlisle.
Dave Carlisle.
Yeah.
they just became fun because they were my age group. So
You guys flock to each other.
we could talk to each other, and they were all here for fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't so serious, because to see what kids came, when I came out here, I was just amazed to see a 10-year-old kid pull up with a tuner guy, an engine builder, a chassis guy, and I'm like, oh my God, this kid's got 5 different, So that was amazing to see that. There was very few, there still are, but very few mom and pop karting.
Right.
It was big teams. Guy pulls in with a NASCAR truck, and a 9-year-old gets out.
Yeah.
So
One go-kart.
Yeah. So that was amazing to see the difference out here. So
Yeah.
mainly why Rob came out here, because this is where racing was.
Sure.
And then big names came out of here.
Certainly in karting, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of big karting. I mean, obviously, Adam's more sports track and whatnot. I mean, did you ever get a chance when you were racing at one? Did you ever get a chance to come out this way at all with karting starting here in California? Did you ever get a chance to come out here and race like at Riverside, even in Enduro or anything like that?
No, we never made it to a California race. I don't
Really?
know why.
That's so funny after all the traveling you guys got to do. It
Well,
just
I mean,
never
it's not
brought you
exactly
out.
a hop, skip, and a jump from Chicago.
No, for sure.
either.
But you weren't, you were driving to Texas. It's definitely further than Texas.
Yeah.
But, man.
But Texas is only, 24, 28 hours away, really,
Man.
compared to, this is 3 days away, from Chicago.
Right.
And pulling a trailer. So I don't know. I think Johnny, the guy who owned the kart track, flew out here, and people out here set him up in a cart and everything. They had the cart waiting for him and everything. So we didn't come out, just he came out to drive.
Gotcha.
So he drove some stuff out here. I don't know, Dick Collier, Tex Bell, guys like that from California we knew. But they mainly, we never actually brought the whole team out here.
Right.
So.
Since you've been out here and doing all this other kinds of stuff, and I know that that you did a little bit of help and whatnot with the Senior Moments guys. I remember you kind of helped them out on the side. It wasn't like you were traveling around doing a bunch of stuff with those guys. But I know that when 206 racing came back up again and was starting to get rolling, and then we started the CSK racing team. That's when I knew you were a guru with the engines and whatnot, with all the stuff you're doing with our arrive and drive stuff. But then we started doing the 206 game, and oh man, I'll tell you, the 2017 season, we were on the Bob Niles Power Program.
That was
there.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
That was
and
just good power.
listening to you and seeing what you could do with those engines and whatnot, and again, I felt, nobody else may know this, but I felt like we were kind of out of the back of the pickup guys again. That's how I did it when I was a kid with my dad, and we were out of the garage, kind of like you guys said about beating people we shouldn't be beating.
We were definitely underestimated that year,
and Bob's doing the engines.
Yeah.
And whether they be the rental ones or the ones that we're using or whatever, they're all the same. And shit, some of the rental ones were winning, and
yeah,
kind of know what the hell you're doing there, my man.
Yeah, well, that was really enjoyable when we did that first season, because now I'm back into tuning for somebody that's like when you guys were running, tuning for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I donated my Saturdays. I never even charged anybody for that. I donated it.
It's good because we didn't have the budget.
We didn't have the budget for it.
Oh, we still don't. So,
But I really enjoyed wrenching for somebody. And not, it's fun to build the engines, but I got 40 guys out that I don't even know racing.
and they don't know that there's an engine guy, really.
They don't know there's an engine guy or anything like that. But when you guys were running and that Senior Moments were running, they knew there was an engine guy. There was a guy to help them a little bit, So, and we did okay. So I was proud of everybody that we did work for.
That was fun.
That was a hell of a good time.
Yeah,
And
it was fun to run up to the fence and see your guy out there, just putting his time down, winning or whatever we did, win or lose. It was still a ball. Going to tech, that brought back the old days.
Yeah,
That was a good time.
That's
That was
awesome.
a fun time.
That's awesome. Well, Bob, I got to tell you, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to
This was a lot of fun.
coming
We
over
enjoyed
here
this, man.
and chat with us about, stuff that I had no idea. Not just on the karting side, but some of the cool shit you've gotten to do.
Dance instructing.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
That's awesome.
Man, oh,
I
man.
can back it all up. I guess I gotta tell you one little story.
Yeah.
That's a quick one. Probably another highlight. We went to Blackhawk Farms for an enduro race, and we were running. Rob ran his class, and I had just gotten this. A buddy of mine, Charlie, said, "I built the motor. I want somebody to try it." So I had another cart. I said, I'm going to run it. I'll run it for you. What the heck? So I had an extra cart. We set the cart up and started the motor, ran it, broke it in and all that. And I got a couple laps in. Yeah, the motor feels really good. So went back and we get the lineup. This was Le Mans starts, basically. Well, not Le Mans, sorry. You actually were in the cart. But they had the 60 second, 30 second, 10 second, all that stuff. So they dropped the flag and everybody pulls out onto the track and is all bunched up trying to get going.
Yeah.
All I did was turn my cart right and went down pit row on the edge. Straight ahead of everybody. I was gone. So we come around. This isn't the funny part yet. I come around the corner, go make the lap. I'm coming onto the main straightaway. There's nobody on the straightaway but me. I'm a quarter mile ahead of the whole pack. By the edge of the track is Rob and Joey. And their eyes are this big.
That's awesome.
Dad was out in front. They couldn't figure out how come I was a mile ahead of everybody. That was the thrill of my life to see their face.
Yeah.
Never expecting at that time. I was a little older and didn't drive much. Leading the race.
That's awesome.
And in fact, it was a great race because they choo-choo trained and caught me. Passed me. The whole pack passed me. Or not the whole pack, but the lead guys.
Yeah.
I got back on the pack. Passed them. They got back in the pack, passed me. I actually won the race.
Oh, awesome.
But it was just going back and forth the whole time.
It was one of those days that you remember was that fun a race.
Yeah.
Bumping and banging and everything. And I won the thing by maybe a foot.
Wow.
Yeah. And the guy that beat me got disqualified anyway. He was illegal. But that was it. Just the look on their face. When I came around and there was nobody behind me, they're like, well, what happened to everybody?
Where's the shortcut at?
Where's the shortcut at? I just got a lucky break. They got tangled up, and I just went.
Just broke ahead.
Broke ahead, so far ahead, it was unreal. But that was one of my great memories.
Sometimes you just got to be smarter right there.
That's it.
Be smarter in the group.
Man.
Everybody, they all punched it, and I sat there a second. I didn't punch it right away. For some reason, I just said, this is not going to end up well.
Yeah.
Because everybody, they got the throttle, they're holding the brake, they got the throttle down. This is not going to end well. And all I did was just hit the throttle and turn right.
Unbelievable.
But the look on their face, I still got it in my memory.
Well, I'll tell
awesome.
you, I know where the kids got their driving talent because I've gotten a chance to share a track with you a couple times doing some testing and whatnot, especially when we were doing the 206. And even before that, you actually had you played around the World Formula a little bit.
Yeah, you did some racing with that.
You did a little bit you did a Tri-C race or 2 or 3 or whatever in the World Formula, and you were right at the sharp end the entire time, my friend.
Got second in the main.
Yeah,
there you go.
And I think the only guy who was in front of him was Steve Donald.
Steve Donald, and he only beat me because I didn't know he was there.
Oh, man.
The heavy guys were in front of us, and I just backed off. I figured I don't want to hit any of these guys. I'll wait till we make the corner, and then I'll pass them. Well, Steve didn't wait. He could have beat me anyway, but, it was fun to just get to do it again because my reflexes are gone. All that stuff is gone. I don't have any of that sharpness anymore. So
Right.
Can't see, can't hear. So
I'll tell you what, you can talk, and it's been a hell of a good time listening.
We enjoyed this. We hope you did.
I did. It was fun. I didn't think it would be this easy, but it was. I hope you don't mind my old stories because usually they tell the old man to go away with your old time stories.
The best part is we're going to show up tomorrow to work and you're going to have 5 more stories that we weren't able to fit in today.
Hold on a second. Let me go get the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's record them.
There's a million of them. There's a million of them. Those are just my family. I can tell you about all the other stuff. There's a lot of stories out there. But we did some crazy stuff. But thank you again. Thank you very much for letting me do this.
Yeah, of course.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks for being on the show, man. We appreciate it.
Good to be behind the mic again.
Yeah.
DJ Bob Niles.
Thank you, guys.
Nice.